Liam Payne's story is raising a lot of questions. We're not just talking about a simple accident or an unfortunate fall. No, something feels off. And the more details that come to light, the harder it gets to believe the official narrative. Reports say Liam sustained 25 different injuries. Now let's think about that for a second. 25, not just cuts or scrapes, actual injuries that suggest way more than just a 3-story fall. I'm not a forensic expert, but even I know that kind of situation doesn't add up. In fact, a forensic expert recently confirmed it. Falling from that height shouldn't have resulted in so many separate injuries. Now, if that's the case, the only thing that makes sense is that something else happened before the fall. Could it be that Liam was beaten, maybe even thrown from the balcony afterward to make it look like an accident? If you think that theory is worth exploring, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any updates. I have a lot more to share on this case, and trust me, it's going to get even more complicated. Now let's dive deeper. There's a third person involved in Liam's story, a man named Roger Norris, or Rogelio. And if you haven't heard his name yet, you're going to want to pay close attention. Roger wasn't just anyone. He was one of the last people to see Liam alive. The two were at the hotel that night, and according to sources, Roger only spent about 10 minutes with Liam before saying, quote, "I've got to run," end quote, at around 3:30 p.m. Roger left the hotel to run an errand. That was the last time anyone saw Liam Payne alive. But Roger's connection to Liam isn't the only thing that's suspicious. Roger has a very shady past. His past is linked to criminal activity, including drug trafficking and arms smuggling. In fact, Argentina banned him back in 2005 due to these activities. And if that wasn't enough, there are rumors of financial misconduct tied to his name. And here's where things take an even darker turn. Roger seems to have a connection to Maya Henry and her family. You remember Maya, right? Liam's former fiancée? Maya's mother was photographed with Roger back in 2021. And Maya was planning on releasing a tell-all book about her time with Liam that some say actually pushed Liam over the edge, if we are believing the narrative that he did this to himself. And that alone raised eyebrows, but here's the kicker. Just one day before Liam's passing, Maya made a rare Instagram post. She hadn't posted in weeks. Suspicious timing, don't you think? She claimed in her Instagram post that she was in New York. But could that post have been an attempt to build an alibi? What's even more troubling is that Maya still follows Rogers' brother, Nacho Norris, on Instagram. And here's another connection. Maya's father, Thomas J. Henry, is an influential lawyer with rumored ties to some very dangerous people. This sleuth dug up Maya is the daughter of Thomas J. Henry, an influential cartel lawyer in Texas who defended the Norris family in a scam. And to make matters worse, Maya's grandfather, Mark Crawford, is currently serving time for a disturbing crime, locking his business partner in a box connected to an exhaust pipe until they passed away. And guess who funded his legal defense? Maya's father. Oh, and get this, the hotel staff confirmed that Maya was staying just one floor above Liam. So I'm just wondering here, was Maya and Liam's pal, Roger Norris, sort of conspiring to end Liam? And then there is this sketchy 911 call. The person who made it didn't sound panicked, which is strange enough, but they also specifically mentioned the balcony right away. Almost like they knew exactly what had happened before any investigation began. I think the hotel might be covering something up. Maybe they know more than what they're letting on. How did Liam even manage to fall from the balcony? It's not like the railing was unusually low. And you'd expect a place like this to have proper safety measures in place, especially with a celebrity staying there. And where are the security cameras? Are we supposed to believe that a high-end hotel has no cameras covering the area outside? Something just doesn't feel right about this situation. So in our exploration today, we're going to listen to a forensic expert who brings a unique perspective to this case. Their insights shed light on the nature of Liam's injuries, and what we learned could change everything we think we know about that fateful afternoon. This expert will explain how 25 separate injuries just don't line up with what we would typically expect from a fall. Instead, they'll delve into the details of how these injuries suggest a different sequence of events altogether.
The forensic experts, they reportedly found 25 injuries that were compatible with those caused by falling from a height. So that's according to the autopsy. And the report also said that craniocerebral lesions were adequate enough to cause death, while internal and external hemorrhages in the skull, thorax, abdomen, and limbs, they contributed to the mechanism of death. Real quick takeaway from that, Joseph.
Yeah, I do have a problem with this, okay, because you cannot say that 25 injuries, individual injuries, are associated with a fall from this height. Now, I'm buying, if you're selling, you've got a single point of impact, because let's just think about it. If you think about dropping an object, let's just say if we dropped a bag of flour off of a 3-story balcony, there'll be the part that you can appreciate in that bag of flour where it rips. Because that's the point of impact. Now they're saying he's got 25 different injuries that are associated with a fall. How does that happen? Now, if you were falling down a flight of stairs, I'd buy that, okay? Because you're bouncing off, you're pinballing off. Some of these things are interlocked.
Right. Are you suggesting that perhaps these injuries happened before the fall?
Yeah, they could. And that's why it's so important that when we examine injuries in the morgue, we might see them at the scene, but when you get it under the surgical lighting in the morgue, you pick up on things. Here's the big thing, Jesse, is you want to be able to try to understand the age of these injuries. And that's why literally in the morgue, we dissect the injuries externally where we will actually trim into them or cut into them. And if you've got an area of, say, a contusion, fancy word for a bruise, we all know the stages of coloration with a bruise. Well, if you've got a yellow bruise on you, that's not recent.
But just to couple that for a second, if he was injured minutes before the fall, you wouldn't be able to tell the time frame between minutes.
No, that'd be
It'd have
much
to be a
more
few
difficult.
days or something like that, right?
Yeah, and so what I would begin to look for relative to these other kind of peripheral injuries that they're referring to, Jesse, is patterns. So let's just say you fall off of a structure and there's a concrete or cobblestone below. That's going to leave a specific impact pattern. Well, is he punching a wall? Is he jamming his shoulder into the wall? I don't know what's broken in there. Does he have glass cuts? Those sorts of things. So then you begin to look for patterns to try to understand what happened. Because you got a big piece to this. You've got a busted up room, okay? And then you've got this great fall from a height. So that's 30 feet, roughly, give or take, that you're falling from. And I don't know what the surface was like that he struck, and that's going to play a big role in it as well.
What if the injuries indicate something more complex? What if they point to an altercation or a struggle? These are the questions we need to consider as we piece together the story. Yeah, and I'm just looking at the balcony here, and it doesn't look like there's many things for his body to have bounced off of to create those 25 injuries. And just looking at the photos published by TMZ here, which have been heavily blurred, you can see that Liam actually had his backpack on and had a hat on as if he was ready to leave. Liam's family is preparing to bring him back to the UK. And when they do, the coroner will be legally required to investigate. According to British law, anytime a citizen passes under sudden, violent, or unexplained circumstances while abroad, an inquest is mandatory. That is unless the person is cremated or buried in the country where they pass. So unless something changes, it looks like Liam's family will be facing an inquest back in the UK. This investigation could go on for months, and who knows what kind of new details might come to light. But what's clear is that there are way too many questions left unanswered. How does someone like Liam Payne, with his entire future ahead of him, planning on marrying his girlfriend, end up in a situation like this? Especially since his family said that he was off all the substances around this time. Was this really just an accident, or was there more at play? Because we have those two mysterious adult workers, both 25 females, who were seen at Liam's hotel just an hour before he passed, and apparently Liam refused to pay them. So was this sort of like a gang setup even because he didn't pay them that, someone came in and did this to him? There's so many speculation going on, and I just want to know, what do you guys think? Do you believe Liam Payne's passing was an unfortunate accident, or is there something more sinister behind it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you found this video thought-provoking, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any new updates.